Welcome to Lair, the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. For today's episode, I'm coming to you from a special location, and we're launching a new series that I'm calling Midweek Maiden, where on Wednesdays we're going to be doing Iron Maiden topics. I'm going to be having guests on, and for the first episode, we're having a special thing here. I am in downtown Tampa at the Tampa Theater, and I'm here tonight to see Bruce Dickinson and his spoken word tour. I've never gone to something like this before. I don't know what we're in for. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. The Tampa Theater is an old historic venue. Supposedly it's haunted. It has all kinds of history around it. So this is going to be really exciting. This is going to be really cool. I will check back in with you guys after it's over, maybe try to take some pictures inside, and I'll come back at you and let you know how the show was. All right? It's the morning after Bruce. Last night I saw Bruce on his spoken solo tour. I was going to make a video. First I was going to try to make a video inside the venue, but it was way too noisy. And then I was going to do it outside after, but it was too dark. It was still too noisy, the traffic and everything. So here we are the morning after, talking about Bruce and his solo tour. First, as you saw in the introduction video, I mentioned that it was at this historic venue in Tampa called the Tampa Theater, which is in downtown Tampa. It's a building that was built, I believe, in the 20s. It was the first commercial building in Florida to have air conditioning, so that's a big thing. You know, they showed silent films there, so they have an old-fashioned organ that rises up from, I don't know if it comes up from the orchestra pit or on the stage, but I've seen videos of people will go and watch a silent film, and there's an actual live organ player there playing along with the silent film, because that's the way they used to do it back then. It's a super cool venue. The architecture on the inside is really neat. As I'm talking here, I'm going to hopefully be able to show you some pictures I snapped on my iPhone. Not a photographer, but it'll give you an idea. It's got a lot of ornate things. Even the water fountains were looked really cool. And it's 2 levels, the balcony. When you go up in the balcony, the roof is painted like the sky. So it looks like you're in an amphitheater. It was really a kind of a really neat effect. It looked like there was no roof. It looked like you were sort of sitting outside. So statues and just decorative ornaments and architecture type things throughout the building, which is really cool. It also has a history of being haunted. If you YouTube or Google haunted Tampa, the Tampa Theater is like one of the first things that comes up. It has a history of being haunted. People do haunted tours there. So that sort of added to the vibe of going to see a heavy metal singer of one of the greatest metal bands of all time, Iron Maiden, doing a spoken word thing. All right, on to the spoken word part. It was fun. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I've never been to anything like this before. I know Henry Rollins has been doing this for a while, but I don't know if any metal singer or metal musician has really done something like this. I don't know. I could be wrong, but so I didn't know what to expect. It was really cool. They had a big projector screen on the stage, so that before Bruce came out, they were blasting music. Even while people were filing in, they were playing music from Balls to Picasso, which was cool. But right before Bruce comes on, they're flashing images on the screen. He's sold millions of records. He's flown all over the world. You know, he's a fencer. They're showing all these images of Bruce in action, which is cool. And then Bruce comes out, and he's got these bright red shoes on. I think that's kind of his signature thing for this spoken word. And then he just sort of goes through his life story. He spent a lot of time talking about when he was in school, his first band, his first experiences singing, how he got expelled from school. Eventually then goes on to talk about Samson, and of course he talks about Iron Maiden. I kind of wish he had spent more time talking about Iron Maiden. It's felt like he spent more time talking about Samson than he did Iron Maiden. But the theme of the whole show, I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't sure if it was going to be kind of like him sitting on a stool just telling stories, but this was more comedic than I expected it to be. And I knew that Bruce is a personality. You see interviews with Bruce, he's very energetic, he's a great storyteller, he's a fun interview. So I knew that he had that going for him. I didn't realize how funny he was. I mean, really, it felt like the theme of the show was more comedy, funny stuff. If he talked about all the different times in his life, it was usually about something funny that happened or something crazy that happened. Like when he was talking about Samson, he talked about all the crazy things that went on with them. When he was talking about when he was in school, he would show pictures on the screen. You know, he had an early picture of himself when he was younger, and he had one of those red light pointer things, and he would point at things and kind of laugh at himself. And he had a segment where he had pictures of him in all these different pants, trousers. So he said, you know, what was I thinking with these trousers? You know, and he went down. So really, the theme of the thing was lighthearted. It was fun. It was funny. There were a lot of people laughing. It was a little one negative thing, and I don't know if this was just the venue. We were in the bottom row, the last row on the main level. And because of that, there was people walking back and forth. Because it was a spoken word thing, you could hear Bruce fine, but if there were people behind you talking a lot, it got hard to hear them. And there were more than once in the show where people were standing up like, be quiet, you know, yelling to people to be quiet because people were kind of coming in and out of the theater to use the bathroom, get a drink or whatever, and just talking and making a lot of noise. So that was something I wasn't expecting. You know, you're thinking you're at a metal show. It doesn't matter if anybody's talking. You can't hear them because the music is so loud. So that was a little distracting. But he goes through his history. I wish he had talked a little bit more about Maiden, but it was still fun. When he went on intermission, it was a long intermission. It was a 30-minute intermission. He spoke for a while. The first part of the show was probably an hour and 45 minutes maybe. He took a 30-minute intermission. During that, on the screen, they played an HD version of the Writing on the Wall video. But this one was mixed different, I think. It had more of the sound effects, like the motorcycles and things exploding. You could really hear that. It sort of drew you into the whole thing more. And it made me appreciate it, again, because it was in HD and all the sound effects with the music playing. It really made it feel more cinematic. Then when Bruce came out for the second half, people were allowed to submit questions. When you walked in, there were cards you could fill out. And he answered questions from the cards. And that was probably my favorite part of the show because he got asked a lot of great questions, like about with his solo band when they went into Sarajevo, if he's going to do another solo album. He said that he is. There were a lot of funny things. I don't know if this one was planted. This one seemed too good to be true, but he read the one card and it said, I came here with my parents. Who are you? That's just too funny. I think he planted that one, but that was cool because then he went a little bit more in depth, talk about flying and stuff like that, and playing Iron Maiden, the new Iron Maiden record one time on the airplane and everything for the crew. Those stories were really fun. And then at the end, if you've seen videos of him doing this, he always sings something. So he sang the chorus to Tears of the Dragon, and then thank you, and he was off. It was a great time. It was very unique. You know, I think about where we are with a lot of these bands now. I wonder if more musicians might do things like this. I mean, as I looked around in the crowd, everybody was like, looked like they were pretty much my age. So I don't know if you could have done something like this in the early 80s, a metal singer going out on a spoken word tour. I'm not sure how that would have gone over. But where we are now in the average age demographic for these artists, it's something that's fun. And as I was watching Bruce, I thought to myself, you know, I would really love to hear like Rob Halford do something like this. I've read his book. I know he has tons of stories. Or even the guys in Metallica, if James and Lars or the whole band got up there, told stories, answered questions. I think that would be something that would be really cool. In addition to their regular touring, if they were to do stuff like this, I think that would be really fun. It's kind of a casual, laid back, relaxed atmosphere. You have a drink, you're just sitting there and listening to them tell stories. It's a lot of fun. All right, let me know if you've seen the Bruce Show, spoken word show yet. This is our first episode of our midweek Maiden. It's going to be on Wednesdays. We're going to have guests on all kinds of Iron Maiden topics. So I thought I'd start the first midweek Maiden with this special one. By the time this comes out, he'll have done a couple more shows since Florida. Let me know if you've seen him. Let me know if you plan on seeing him. Let me know what you think of this idea. If you're even interested in this kind of thing, spoken word thing. Do you think more metal musicians should do this? Let me know in the comments down below. And until we see you again, stay heavy, stay metal.